How are you?
Good morning.
It is.
Yep. You all refined and ready for tonight?
No,
No?
but I will be.
Yeah.
So it's something John did. So I just got a meeting notice and I'm like, I thought that was tomorrow. It's not gonna work today, so I'll have to bow out of that one, so,
Gotta do that every now and then.
yeah.
All right, we are 9 o'clock on the dot. We'll call this meeting to order. If you'd please stand and join us for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good morning. Welcome, everyone. It is Tuesday, February 18th. Wow. This is the Broadwater County Commissioners' business meeting. This is where we take care of county business for our 6,000 citizens. This meeting is open to the public and we welcome anyone to participate by promoting basic civility. Documents are available for review and copying prior to the meeting. And we have had this notebook upstairs with this one, with the growth policy as well. These meetings are recorded. They are on YouTube and the county website. These are the only videos of these meetings that are unedited and uncut. We follow Robert's Rules of Order and county civility and open meeting policies. Under Robert's Rules of Order, all comments shall be directed to the board chair. Sideline conversations are welcome but shall be taken out into the hall. For public comment, please come up to the podium upon recognition by the chair. State your full name for the record and please do so each time you stand to speak. The reason for that is the video is pointed this way and the people watching the video don't know who's speaking unless you state your name. For public comment, each person will be granted an initial 3 minutes to speak. More time may be allotted by the board chair. Finally, disclaimer has been approved by the commission via the weekly minutes and applies to all public comment. Public comment is the opinion of citizens, no citizens as individuals. It does not necessarily reflect accurately on Broadwater County actions, operations, policy, practice, or processes. So with that, we will start with public comment. Is there any public comment? Public comment? Okay, public comment. And that's on any subject not on the agenda that the commission has jurisdiction over. We have minutes from February 3 that were sent out via email last week.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as circulated.
No second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the February 3rd minutes, both sets. Any public comment? All those, please come up to the podium and state your name if you will, Tim.
Real quick question, Madam Chair. Several meetings ago, a comment from the commission was made that the agenda and or minutes certainly are available prior to the official adoption in the draft form, understanding their draft and they could be. How does a person get that minutes? I mean, we get the agenda items via email and we get the approved minutes via email. But I guess is there a separate list that we would need to get on to get that drafted minutes?
You would have to request those.
Okay. Tim Ravendall, I officially request to get a copy of those sent to me email.
We will not be sending them out email.
Okay, how do I get them?
You just need to make a request. All right, thank you for your comment. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Ann. All right, next we have the Commissioner's Community Update. This is the time we share what we did during the week outside of these meetings. Bill, we'll go first
Okay,
again.
well, I guess I'll probably start with our MACO meetings. We all attended the various meetings that we needed to attend. And, I guess my first one was with the Land Use Committee, and we had a discussion about creating the subcommittee for wind energy, and it would include members from both land use and energy committees. Also a discussion on MCA 76-3-610, and we would like to amend that to give the commissioners the ability to extend preliminary plat approval. And they gave several examples why we would want to do that. There's times when preliminary approval needs extended because of maybe economic conditions, weather or workforce delays, things like that. So that's something that they're working on. They did a update on Highway 287. So from Highway 437, which is the dairy, Leap Dairy, to the I-90 junction is scheduled for next year, 2021. There's going to be the project from the Spokane Creek Road, which is the blinking light that goes to Canyon Ferry, to Helena's, and I think that's going to start this year. That's going to be 4-lane with turn lanes. So that's in the works. And then our Silos South project is still 5 years out, but at least we've been nominated to be put on a project list. So if we keep pushing on that, maybe we can bump it up on the list a little bit. But they're aware of it.
Is it from the Silos Road? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's what they're considering. Where it's 4-lane now, back towards town. Yeah. So. We also discussed the grant opportunities for our elderly and disabled transportation. I guess one of the big takeaways from there is that if we decide to do something that nature, we need to create a TAC, which is a Transportation Advisory Committee, and it is the Transportation Advisory Committee that has to make the recommendation and submit the application. Generally, that's about an 80 to 20% match, and applications need to be submitted by the first business day of March. We had a great session on DES response, recovery, mitigation, and preparedness, and what the commissioners' roles are in that. And they discussed HJ 35, which is an interim study on state and local tax policy. So that is probably going to be a big topic our next legislative session. Something that we all need to pay attention to, I believe. And we also had a great discussion on the unfunded pension liability lawsuit between PRS and Cascade, Lewis and Clark County. Great presentation by Northwest Energy on their possible percentage purchase of coal strips 1 and 2 and what that means for Montana's future energy needs. And I did pick up a little flyer that discusses that a little bit. If anybody's interested in that, you can inform yourself there. And that's really pretty much about it. Oh, I did meet on Friday with Bridger Brewery and MBAC to discuss their project going forward down there, and that meeting went well.
Excellent. Mike?
I was sick most of the week, however, I did attend the public safety mill levy down at the Headwaters Livestock Auction. I thought that went pretty good. Hopefully we'll get that passed. There's meetings tonight and tomorrow night, 6 o'clock at the Big Bowl tonight.
Yeah.
And there's that one tomorrow night in community room.
Yes.
All right. I also attended the MACO conference, Montana Association of Counties. I attended the 2 committees were Health and Human Services. Big subject is behavioral health, lack of funding, and the tremendous need. It was interesting how much that meeting overlapped with Justice and Public Safety, which took place immediately afterwards. Big debate in Justice and Public Safety, which was really interesting, is justice reform. So a new commissioner is Randy Brodell, who was the chairman of the committee that passed much of the justice reform. that included an awful lot of unfunded mandates that came to counties without any funding for that. So he was arguing the side of the tremendous success that we've had, and many commissioners and our county attorney representative from Lewis and Clark County argued the other side of it. Everybody wants it to work, but there's going to have to be some funding if it's ever going to be successful to the degree that we all need it to be. And a big hole with that is behavioral health. Again, lack of funding, and our jails cannot be where we take care of people in crisis. Forested Counties, I attended that meeting. That was excellent. There's been some good successes with collaboratives, and we had a number of people that were sharing those examples. Of course, we've had one here as well with the Johnny Crow, and the amicus brief that we were a part of with so many partners. I'm going to bring this up a bit later, but we do have an insurance discussion to have. This was the last session on Wednesday, and it was a good 2.5 hours discussion. So I'm not going to take that much time, but I'll bring you guys up to speed. But I'm not going to do it right now. And then the other thing that I think was of great importance is we had an entire day on DES, Disaster and Emergency Services. And about half of that was on a part of DES that we seldom talk about, and that's the recovery after an event. How do you put your community back together? How do you rebuild? What are the resources that you need to bring in for that rebuilding? That was, couldn't have been a better couple hours spent. I think that's it. I think you covered most everything in excellent detail. So, certificate of survey. Bernadette, do you have one today?
No.
Okay. Then what we will do is give the table to Jerry Grabentz with Great West Engineering, Growth Policy and CIP Update. And Jerry, what we'll do is let you give us an update, and then the commission will ask you questions. Then we'll ask you to sit, and anyone who has public comment can come forward, and then you can give a closing statement, kind of like at the legislature.
Sounds good.
All right.
Again, everybody, my name is Jerry Grabentz with Great West Engineering. I'm working on behalf of the county to update the county growth policy, the capital improvements plan, and the floodplain regulations. Floodplain regulations process is done. The commission has adopted those updated regulations, and we're working on finalizing the capital improvements plan and the growth policy. The status of the project, and I'll start with the growth policy, is that the planning board has completed a final draft of the document. And in fact, the planning board has a public hearing scheduled for this coming Thursday. I believe it's at 3 o'clock. I have to verify with Nicole. They are holding their public hearing on the growth policy. And it's hoped that at that time, depending upon the comments that they receive from the public and or any edits that the board would like to make, they will be making a recommendation, I would assume, for approval to the county commissioners for the commission's future consideration. A little bit of background on that is that the board has done quite a bit of outreach between, one, their meetings are always noticed. We did a growth policy survey and actually got what I would call a pretty good response rate of, I believe it was like 189 folks, which doesn't seem like a lot, but the reality is today trying to get people's attention is difficult. So, and again, their meetings have been noticed. This hearing is noticed. I believe that the growth policy is on the county website, and hard copies are available with the planning department. So, barring anything unusual, I suspect the planning board is going to make a recommendation for approval to the board, and then the board can consider that document. The other project that is getting closer, it's not as close as the growth policy, but is the update of the capital improvements plan. And there are just a few outstanding things that need to be done there, and with the commission's indulgence, I'll just quickly run through this, and then I'll ask the commission for their guidance about whether they want me to send a formal memo or do it via email about the steps that are left. Really what it comes down to is there are just a few remaining things that need to be filled in, particularly in the draft document, building priorities. We'll either need to see if the individual departments have some cost estimates for the work that they're thinking about, which range from the law enforcement center, road department, solid waste, and some other stuff. Or if we can get a little more details about the type of improvements that need to be done, and then we can put together some high-level cost estimates. As you can imagine, you can't really nail things down without doing preliminary architectural reports and real detailed engineering, but nonetheless, want to have some level of a good estimate of what building projects might cost. So that's one thing we need to work on. The other question is with regards to equipment priorities. A lot of times people don't realize that equipment is a capital improvement, whether it's a snowplow or it's a personal computer. And so there are some question marks for some of the county departments that it would be great if we could see if there are county needs, whether it's county attorney's office, clerk and recorder, elections, district court, and a few others. So we can fill in those blanks, that would be great. The Parks and Recs priorities, we're actually, Great West Engineering is working with the County Rec Board on finalizing the county recreation plan, and part of that includes high-level cost estimates for a number of the recreation board's priorities, and we're almost done with that, and we'll just backfill those into this document so we're not reinventing the wheel. And then talking about solid waste, I know there are some discussions about potential changes with the transfer station, and the reality is that's probably going to take a preliminary engineering report in the future to really nail down a cost for that. That could be a substantial project, so I think it would be difficult at best to give you a number on that right now. So my question to the board is would you be most comfortable with me doing a formal memo to you about the remaining steps for the capital improvements plan, email, or what would you prefer to have in your hands to say, okay, these are the last steps for this project? And before you answer that, the one real biggie that we always recommend to county commissions or city councils or town councils is I think it would be really good ultimately once you have a good idea of what those projects are going to cost, is that the commission create its own overall priority list. Your top 10, top 5, top 20, whatever you're most comfortable with, saying these are the ones we're going to focus on the most, knowing that you're getting input from your department heads and the residents, but ultimately you make the decisions as far as budgeting. So it would be my recommendation, once you have all the data, is the three of you sit down and put together that overall priority list. Plus, it gives residents an idea of, okay, this is what the commission is going to focus on as far as capital improvements for the next 5 years. Because we typically look at these plans as being a 5 to 8 year. We all know that they can go beyond that, it's just the reality, but 5 to 8 years, having that priority list, so someone walks into your office and says, why aren't you working on X? And you can say, well, we went through this planning process and adopted this plan last year, 2 years ago, and our priorities are X, Y, and Z. Doesn't mean you can't change the priorities, but at least when this plan is adopted, you'll have that list that you can refer back to. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the board has.
And maybe giving you an answer too. Are you guys good with just getting an email and then
Yeah.
divvying up and
Yes.
working on each piece?
Mhm.
All right, just
Okay.
just an email is
Great.
absolutely fine.
So we're close. I think as of Thursday, if the planning board makes a recommendation for approval, other than some minor edits, that project is essentially done. And so the capital improvements plan, which is close too, is the last piece of the puzzle, so.
That's
So,
exciting. It's
I've
a
got
long
a
time
question
coming.
then, Jerry. So how do you handle, say like the fairgrounds master plan and the silos, where each plan has multiple projects to be done within that plan? how do you prioritize those?
So what I have talked about with Adam Six, the chair of the Recreation Board, is, for example, with the Fairgrounds project, Sean Higley from WWC sent me the overall priority list for the Fairgrounds. Is what I would do is, my recommendation is to have narrative in the rec plan regarding the Fairgrounds project, and then refer to their priority list as an appendices, because we want these two documents to support each other, whether it's for grants or philanthropy. So that's one of the reasons I think it was important to have that documentation. So we're supporting what the Fairgrounds folks want to do, even though the recreation plan is kind of a separate document. Does that make sense?
Well, it does, and I think that's one of the important things that, at least that I'm starting to understand, is from the grant side of things, you need to have that in place.
And then the silos project, it will really depend upon how far along they are in the planning project, whether or not we can legitimately put some details from that project into the CIP and the recreation plan. So, because that just kind of kicked off. So we need to talk about it in both, particularly in the recreation plan, but we can also talk about it in the CIP. The hard thing is with the CIP, we try to focus on what you as commissioners are actually responsible for, because you probably tangentially don't have a lot of control over the purse strings, I'm assuming, for the silos project, whereas the recreation plan falls, ultimately you approve the recreation plan. The rec board puts it together just like the planning board and makes a recommendation to you, but you're the governing body for that document. So we have a lot more flexibility to talk about fairgrounds, silos, things that aren't necessarily in your control. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
All right. So when would you like a response on the CIP, Jerry?
I can get you an email today.
Okay.
It's going to take a little bit of time, I think, with regards to the building stuff and the equipment stuff, or just the reality. I would think, today is the 18th. If not, the reality is let's say 3 to 4 weeks, 3 at a minimum. I think that's realistic. Anything less than that, knowing how busy your schedules are and staff, I think is unrealistic. So mid-March, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Does that work for you?
Yeah. I guess,
Yes.
Another question is, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but was it our winter NACO meeting that we had? They mentioned that large software programs are considered capital items now.
Yes.
Okay.
Black Mountain.
Where they weren't in the past.
Election software.
Right.
We have lots of clients who include that.
Okay.
Just as much as security cameras, personal computers. Software is expensive, especially stuff that runs elections, clerk and record, scanning software. It's all capital improvements anymore.
How about security? Like we're talking about doing some security here in our courthouse.
Absolutely.
Okay.
New windows, doors, cameras, wiring, all of that should be included. I highly recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Public comment? Nancy, would you come up to the podium? Yes. Thanks. And state your name so that the folks on camera that can't see you know who you are.
Nancy Marks. Where is the meeting?
The planning board hearing is, their meetings are held right here every time they're scheduled. So their hearing will be here Thursday afternoon.
At 3 o'clock.
Yep. I believe it's 3 o'clock. I'll have to verify with Nicole, so.
It is.
All right.
It's at 3, and unfortunately, there's a conflict. Driver's examiner is here on Thursday, so I'm hoping to bump up to the courtroom. But we'll be in this building.
Thank you.
And I'll have signs posted on the front door telling you where to come.
And you could use our room if needed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
just discovered that this morning.
Any other public comment? All right, Jerry, thank you very much.
Thank you.
When you send that email, we'll get started right away.
Okay, great.
All right, next on the agenda, we have Win Meehan Sheriff, Lewis and Clark County Detention Interlocal Agreements.
Good morning. Sheriff Winmehan, so everybody knows if you can't see me. Did you guys get a chance to review this?
Yes.
Any questions or concerns?
Not really. Any changes from your previous?
We've never
one?
done this before.
Oh, okay.
So this is something new, and it's a little odd that we are having this brought forth now. I mean, we've been operating with Lewis and Clark for well over a decade, I think. And we've never had one of these in place, and then here they are opening a facility in August, and we have an agreement. So I think it's part in, I think it's just getting just some general practice type stuff. And I think that with that resolution we sent out in, what, March or May or whatever it was, to increase the daily jail rate, I think was probably what sparked this conversation to go even farther. But I read through it. I didn't get any response from County Attorney Swanson, so I don't know if there was any issues on his part. But I've reviewed it a couple times. I don't have any issues with it, so if you guys are good with it.
Their insurance requirements align with ours.
I figured they were probably pretty close. I would need to talk to Julie, I would imagine, but
Okay.
And they're in our same insurance pool.
yeah.
They're also there are standards for the jails that we all across the state follow. And that's kind of led by Mr. McCabe,
Yes.
right?
Dennis, yes, yeah.
Any questions for Win?
No.
All right, how about a motion?
All right, I'll make a motion that we sign the interlocal agreement for adult detention services between Broadwater County and Lewis and Clark County.
All second.
Right, it has been moved and seconded to sign the interlocal agreement for adult detention services in Broadwater County with Lewis and Clark County. Any public comment? Brandon, come on up to the
Just have a
podium if you
suggestion.
would.
Sheriff, if you could just explain what it, maybe just a brief rundown of what it is, I don't want.
Oh, it's just, okay, yeah, I got what you're saying. Basically, basically all it is it's gonna say that this is a 3-year term that can be renewed after 3 years. It can be written, can be terminated within 30 days upon writing by either party. It just basically sets out what the expense is. It does dictate that it's $67.95 a day, and it does hold. It kind of just dictates to what Lewis and Clark's going to provide for services in regards to what they're going to pay for, the time frame they're going to do it in, such as if we have an inmate, one of their inmates go to the hospital and is hospitalized, we're kind of bound for 2.5 hours to babysit them until they get there. And then it talks about them transporting. We got to keep our records like we do right now, and then the jail standards and stuff. And really it's, you know, if we had an issue, I guess, the last part, if we have an issue with anything, it ends up in a courtroom, we gotta file it here in Broadwater County, and then whoever's the prevailing winner of that gets the attorney fees as well. So I think it covers almost everything you can think of when it comes to housing inmates. So does that help? Okay.
Thank you very much, good suggestion. All right, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Ann, are you gonna make a copy of this one before I send it back to Sheriff Martin? Okay.
So we'll get that to you probably this afternoon.
Okay. I'll sign it before she. Yeah, that takes care. Thank you. Then-
Thank you very much. All right, Bernadette Swenson, Shawber Surveying, request to lift ag exempt status. I don't, would you like to give us any more, either you or Nicole, or is there anything more to give
We're
us?
still in a holding pattern, waiting for any response.
Okay,
Do you want me to go to the podium?
yeah, if you would, please, just to keep the practice going.
Nicole Brown, Community Development. I have made an appointment to meet with Sean Higley to consult on this project. I have a couple of other projects. I'm actually meeting with him this afternoon, but this is one of the items I do want to discuss with him. I've emailed this to Tara. I think you've all seen Tara's response back on this, but I feel that it warrants a second look. And so I'm going to sit down with Sean Higley and Jeremy Fadness at WWC today. So I would ask that maybe you wait on making any decision on this today,
I
just
think we
until I
do
can
that.
get a little more information.
I think it's more important for us to make the right decision than a fast decision. You guys have any arguments against that?
No. I guess I'm not sure if I got your response from Tara.
Oh, okay.
So if you could resend it,
Yeah, I
that
sure
would
will.
be great.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
sure will. Okay.
All right, well, thank you, ladies. And, yeah, as soon as you get any information, let us know. Thanks. All right, Meridian Bridge, repair partnership with Gallatin and Jefferson counties. This was brought to me at conference by Commissioners Joe Skinner and Don Seifert from Gallatin County. I have the spreadsheet. This was something that you and Franklin worked on with Joe and Don, and at the time Steve White. And what they need to do is file and submit a TSAP application. Here is the spreadsheet for you. But they want it official, that what they got was, from that meeting, a verbal affirmative answer from Broadwater County. But it's never been brought to a meeting, so it's never been official. What they want is an official response. And what they would like is Meridian Bridge is between Gallatin and Jefferson counties. So it's not in Broadwater County, it doesn't touch Broadwater County. However, per Joe, there's an awful lot of people from Broadwater County who use that bridge. So what they proposed is Gallatin County would pay half of the match for a rebuild of the bridge. Jefferson County said they would pay 3/8 and take all the in-kind to knock that down. And Broadwater County would pay 1/8, which is approximately $110,000 and change. I don't remember what the total is over there. Anything I'm missing, Mike, from your chats or negotiations?
No, I think the only thing was that road, that bridge work is, they had originally talked about relocating the bridge to the actual county line. But then when they took a look at all the engineering, it was gonna go way out into one guy's field, so they decided to realign it back basically where it's at now. So the bridge is not in Broadwater County, but the road that leads up to the bridge, part of that needs to be reconstructed, so that was supposed to be part of our commitment, was to reconstruct that portion of the road in Broadwater County. So is that part of this 110, or we still have to come up with 110 cash plus the reconstruction of that road?
I don't know what you guys negotiated, so I don't know.
Well, I think that basically the negotiation was that since the bridge wasn't gonna be in Broadwater County, that we weren't gonna put anything into the bridge. But we would do the road work.
So if we approve this and make it official, what we could approve in our motion is that this is for the road work leading up to the bridge, not for specific bridge reconstruction, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Well, I think that you're probably right, but I think that if the other part of you look at that is that the amount of people that are residents of Broadwater County that use that bridge, in reality, compared to probably the amount of people that are Jefferson County residents, is probably not real proportional. I don't know what the traffic flow is there, but I would think most of those residents would be out of Broadwater County versus out of Jefferson County. Oh, I think I think that there's 2 subdivisions down there that are in Jefferson.
Okay,
So I don't know, you know, the overall cost of that thing, I don't think that 110 is gonna be I don't know, we would wanna have part of that be, so is this cash, or is this is cash? Plus our in-kind?
We wouldn't have any in-kind. So if there was any crew work to be done, that would be Jefferson County that would do it, and that in-kind would offset their cash.
Oh.
Our
well,
cash is strictly
okay.
cash with no option for in-kind.
But we would
according
get
to Joe.
we would get the benefit of that road work.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I would think that would be, that would be, I think that'd be fair and equitable for as far as Broadwater County is concerned. I would think that'd be pretty cheap for what we have to do, what we do with the road. So, yeah, I think that'd be fair, because when it first started, we were supposed to pay a quarter of it, which
Oh.
was like $250,000 when they first started out with this thing. So I would think that would be fairly equitable for what we're gonna end up getting out of it.
Okay, essentially an eighth.
Yeah, I would think so, yeah, yeah. So do we have to, we're gonna have to drop a bunch of paperwork for this then? This is just a preliminary proposal.
They're gonna do the grant, we're not.
Oh, okay.
But what they want from us is an official affirmative that we are we are a partner, and this is how much we've pledged to the project.
I would think that we should be, yes.
Okay. And one thing with it, it's a project for 2023. So what we'd be wise to do is to split that 110 into thirds and take, plan for a third from PILT 1 year, a third the second year, a third the third year.
Okay.
Or, yeah, we might have to split it in half to have it in time, but yeah, I don't think we have to do it all right now.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, and the major issue with that bridge is for the fire district people, because it's not big enough for them to get their equipment across anymore.
Oh,
They
okay.
can't make turns, they can't make corners when they come onto that bridge, and then the bridge is not really, the bridge is horse and buggy bridge, it's not a truck bridge.
Which would apply to an ambulance too, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So mostly, I think it's pretty much emergency services, and then also whenever they do have a fire issue, the people that respond to that fire issue down there is normally the people out of Willow Creek.
oh, okay,
And so, I mean, they supplement our Three Forks district down there, so that's the reason that they have to come through there, because they're right there. So that's the main reason that they have it involved, is that fire district service more than anything else.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I would think that would be a pretty good deal for us, really.
Okay. Any thoughts or questions, Daryl?
Well, I'm kind of coming up to speed here. So I guess we kind of have the funding taken care of as far as how we want to do that. You know, I think, too, in the spirit of cooperation, I know that we're going to be involved in the Old Town Bridge project at some point with Gallatin County.
Yeah, and that would be totally different.
Yeah, right, but
Okay.
I'm just looking into the future,
Mhm.
that, I think that we probably want to work with each other on that. I think this shows that we're willing to work with them
Yeah,
when that project comes forward and down the road. But that'll be a pretty big project there.
yeah.
And it's somewhat needed for some of the same reasons, actually.
Mhm.
So just thinking out loud, what would happen if we lost some of our PILT funding and we're not able to participate in that, say, in the next, how would that affect? Where would we get cash for that?
Well, we have PILT this year and next year,
Mhm.
so we know that it got reapproved for 2 years. The closest we've ever come was last year, when it wasn't approved in any way until March or April.
Okay.
And then it was. It's always a risk, and that's why we reserve PILT for capital expenditures or unforeseen. This is a capital expenditure. What would happen, a couple of things, is if we're worried about that, we could take half this year, half next year, set it aside and know that it's already committed. if we didn't do that and we waited till 2023 and it didn't come through and we had made a pledge and they built their TSEP application on that, we would be looking for that money from entitlement share, which is at our discretion, or the general fund. That's it. But we obligate ourselves.
Sure.
So I think we'd be wise to have a plan, you know, the P word that I like. But I think as long as we put together a sound plan and we work with what we know, then we don't come into that type of a situation.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we're all thinking about that. I like the plan of thirds. I think that's a wise plan. If something did happen that third year, it'd be a lot less portion that we would have to come up with, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
And I would suggest that we wait to decide on thirds or halves until we have a budget discussion with our finance officer. But I think we could certainly pledge it from PILT at this point and then decide how that's going to look.
Yeah, I mean, if we took it into thirds, we're only talking 30,000, 35,000 a year. I
Correct.
think that'd probably be the best way to handle it. I mean, we got that long to, and if we have to come up with 35 at the end of 3 years, we should be sufficient to come up with that versus having to come up with all of it at one time.
Correct. I'd be arguing more for the halves this year and next year based on the fact that it's a guarantee that we have PILT. And then that way we don't have to worry about the what ifs. But, you know, again, we can argue that out.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to agree to participate in the TSEP fund to the amount of $110,013 for the Meridian Bridge project.
No, second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to participate with the Meridian Bridge project and the TSEP application for a Broadwater match of $110,013 to come from PILT. Any public comment? Public comment? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Give that to you for fun. All right, Silos special use permits. This should actually take us about 30 seconds. These have been available for us to all read, but also for the public to see them. What this is Bureau of Reclamation has been approached by Doug Brecker with the Rod and Gun Club to hold a special event at Silos. And because we are partners with the Silos, they would like our agreement that we're okay with that. The second one is Carol Henkel from Park City, and she wants to have a Camp Make a Dream event at Silos. So we can agree to these. I would hope we'd agree to both of them together or independently. And there's the contracts that we need to sign and get back to BOR.
Yeah, I think this is great. So both of them are fish derbies or tournaments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I think we can do something like that. So I'd make a motion that we sign both of the special use permits.
I'll second the motion.
Right, it's been moved and seconded to sign the special use permits with Bureau of Reclamation for both Camp Make a Dream and Broadwater County Rod and Gun Club. Is there any public comment? Public comment? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye? Aye. Okay, well, I don't need to say it twice, sorry. Motion is approved. And it doesn't have a place for us to sign. So what we'll do is include these minutes for them so that they have that. I think it might be more of a courtesy but I'm glad we have that as a vote. So Nicole Brown, Community Development Director, 380 Views 2 minor subdivision, request final plat approval.
Do you mind if I sit at the table?
Not at all.
Pass these items around. And one on top, so you don't go across.
Thank you. That's thoughtful.
So this is the 380 Views 2 minor subdivision. They're requesting final plat approval. This is up near the Springville area. So, condition number 1, plans for sewage treatment and water supply shall be submitted to the Montana Department of Environmental Quality for review and approval. Coming around is the signed and stamped DEQ approval. Number 2, prior to any development and/or soil disturbance, a weed management plan for the proposed development shall be submitted to the County Weed District for review and approval. We have a signed and approved weed management plan. Number 3, I have a copy of an email if you wish to see it, but number 3 states the applicant will be required to submit the final plat drawings in electronic format to Broadwater County in ArcGIS, AutoCAD, or MicroStation format. And that's all been emailed to me by the surveyors. So number 4. The applicant and the Fire Protection Authority having jurisdiction shall use their best efforts to draft a fire protection plan specifically for this subdivision in accordance with Broadwater County subdivision regulations. The plan should be equally acceptable to the FPHJ, the applicant, and the county governing authority. The plan shall adequately address the fire risk analysis, all findings of fact, and appropriate mitigation measures. In the event the parties are unable to come to an agreement by the time of final plat submittal, the applicant shall become eligible to provide the per lot cash in lieu fee for water supply, as may be defined in the Broadwater County subdivision regulations in effect at the time of submittal. And as you can see from this fire plan, they have agreed to pay $1,000 at time of lot sale. Number 5 is the plat itself. The final plat shall be prepared in accordance with applicable state survey requirements, Montana Subdivision Plating Act survey requirements, and county subdivision regulations. Should I grab this whole packet here? Okay. It's not a paperclip. Number 6. All internal subdivision roads must be designed in accordance with the Broadwater County road standards and stamped by a professional engineer. A letter from the PE shall be provided to the county stating that the roads and any improvements have been constructed in accordance with the approved plans and specifications, and that he or she has completed an inspection of the roads and any improvements. You have the road plans along with a letter signed and stamped by a PE. Number 7, the book and page reference to the restrictive covenant filed with the county clerk and recorder shall be indicated on the face of the final plat. In addition, restrictive covenants, revocable or alterable only with the consent of the Board of County Commissioners, shall be placed upon the property and shall provide for the following. A, notification of the potential health risk from radon concentrations and that such risk can be evaluated through soil tests and mitigated through radon abatement techniques incorporated into structures. B, notification that all dwelling units within the subdivision should be constructed to specifications which meet or exceed equivalent provisions in the applicable state building code for this seismic zone, which is Zone 3. C, any additional replacement or relocated utility lines shall be installed underground in accordance with county subdivision regulations unless otherwise determined by the utility provided. D, any exterior lighting shall be directed downward to minimize visibility beyond the property lines. E, a waiver of the right to protest to join a special district for the purpose of providing community water and/or wastewater treatment system improvements and/or maintenance. F, a restrictive covenant binding the landowner, any heirs, successors, and assigns, and all future owners of property within the subdivision, agreeing therein to hold Broadwater County harmless and indemnify Broadwater County from all claims, demands, obligations, suits, causes of action, damages, and liability, including the county's costs and attorney's fees, arising in any manner whatsoever out of or relating to the existence, use, operation, repair, and or maintenance of the following. Sub-item 1, earthquake fault zone and any seismic activity, and number 2, water availability. G, all cats and dogs must be restrained, penned, or otherwise under the control of their owner at all times. H, notification of the presence of agricultural operations in the vicinity. I, each lot shall be maintained in a clean, attractive, and weed-free manner. Noxious weeds must be pulled, sprayed, or cut prior to seed maturity. J, a waiver of right to protest joining a rural improvement or maintenance district for the purpose of road maintenance, mosquito control, or equitably funding parks and maintenance of parks. K, address numbers shall be clearly marked at the driveway entrance to each lot and be easily identified from the road. L, notification that lots in this subdivision may be subject to impact fees if in place prior to lot sales. Number 8, A and B are both attached here. 8A, provide proof that all taxes and special assessments assessed and levied on the property are paid for the current tax year, including any past delinquencies. And B, provide documentation and abstract of title or platting certificate showing that the applicant is the lawful owner of the property with the apparent authority to subdivide the same, showing the names of lien holders or claimants of record and the written consent to the subdivision by the owners of the land, if other than the applicant, and any lien holders or claimants of record against the land. And that is it for the list of conditions.
And the Heismans will sign these others.
Is that the covenants? Is that-
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll have to be notarized.
Okay.
So generally, they sign them when they sign the plat.
Okay.
Any questions for Nicole or concerns with the follow-up documents? Does anybody want to make a motion, or is it too soon?
You still studying there, Mike?
I'll make a motion for
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to approve 380 Views 2 minor subdivision for final plat. Any public comment? Public comment? All right. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. You need to use a special pen, Mike.
the special.
A
Yep.
special.
How come we don't each have a special thing?
You need to have a special.
It's not in my budget.
I think we can probably take care of that.
Add
250,
7 more dollars in. Yeah. Bernadette always comes with extra
Oh, you are good.
donations. Yeah. And this subdivision, just because I think it's worth noting, was given preliminary approval on February 25th of 2019. So it's taken them a year, which is about typical from receiving preliminary plat approval to being able to create deeds and sell lots, especially when there's road construction and engineering involved, so.
I went and looked at it, looks like they did a great job. with it.
Yeah, it does look nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I believe Doug has been working, the transportation committee, Doug Ellis, on a school bus turnaround for this
Oh.
area.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's installed, I haven't gone and looked at that yet, but I have ordered them a sign for it. That the Heinemans donated property for that,
They
so,
did.
not a requirement, they donated
All
it.
right.
so.
And
That was nice.
That was the one that was, they were stopping down on the highway, right?
Yes,
And they
and
had
there
that-
was
almost had
almost
that
an incident.
with a log in front.
Yeah, very scary,
Which would have been bad. So that's a great deal that they're doing that.
it really is.
Appreciate them doing
It really is.
Bernadette, thank you.
Oh, no problem.
Make these lots more suitable, I really think it will help in the long run.
that. Yeah. So just as a discussion point, one thing that came up in our land use meeting was the discussion about RIDs.
Mhm.
So, and it seems that everyone is requiring RIDs to be in place for final plat approvals. So,
Nothing, in legislature to come out of that yet, I mean, it's mandatory, but most counties
But the
are
counties are.
making that happen.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. We, are going to be tackling our subdivision regulations and amending those
Okay.
once we get through this growth policy. So once we have this public hearing on Thursday, it's the very top of our,
Perfect.
tasks,
That's
I guess,
next.
with the planning board. And I know we've been talking about it, just, you know,
Mhm.
it's difficult to take on more than one project at a time and give it your full attention, so that's certainly something we can add in.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Nicole. Nice
you.
work.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bernadette makes my job easy.
nice.
She tags all of this for me when she comes in. Thank you.
Thank you.
I try to keep myself organized.
All right, I've lost my agenda, but next I know we have Mike Conkey with DES, City County Interlocal for Disaster and Emergency Services.
Sit right next to Andy.
That'll work.
Keep me in line.
Yes.
Hey, for the record, my name is Mike Conkey, Broadwater County Disaster Emergency Services Coordinator. Before we get into the interlocal agreement, which is a couple updates, the only major incident we had in Broadwater County was the 28th of January when BNSF railroad engine locomotive's first one caught on fire. That was about 8:15 in the evening, and our sheriff's office did a great job. Our dispatcher did with paging out, following protocol. Protocol is page out fire departments. And 2 fire departments, Winston and Townsend, page out an ambulance and notify me. And as soon as that page, I heard the paging before the sheriff called me. I was talking to Tony Barsini at the railroad. He comes to our LEPC meetings and told him we had a fire over here, an engine, and he hadn't even been notified by MRL yet. And our guys responded. They did a great job. They had a little trouble trying to access it. It was up there close to Laura's house, Antelope Road. We talked to the dispatchers a little bit of which best way to get there. Fire guys got there. They followed protocol. They put on their SCBA's. Took a 1 1/4 inch charge line up to the engine. Incidentally, in December we did training, 1st of December. Tony came down here with MRL on how to respond to an emergency hazmat incident on a railroad. And they walked up to the engine, and there's a button on the side of those locomotives, the red button. You push that red button, and what that does is kills the fuel supply. And flames are shooting up 20, 30 feet above the engine, and then once it ran out of fuel, it burned itself out. Then went back to the second lit engine and pushed that one, shut that off. That train was a train of Vulcan crude oil. It had, between the 2 lead engines, it had a bumper car of sand. And then down at the end of the train, it had another engine, a pusher unit. That stayed on, that engine kept running, and they had a buffer car there as well. The railroad came out of Helen right away. The sheriff's office did a great job, and they responded. They were in a process of notifying citizens just in case they had to do an evacuation. and they closed the road off the highway to Antelope, both approaches to keep the traffic out of there, Lucky Lou traffic. And as the way I was